Okay, let's jump into it. I got what are we at? 10:25 on Friday, 10th of May. What a night overnight. Jeez, mate. I absolutely sort of ripped on a couple of these positions. So as probably if anybody sort of follows along on that, I'm sort of very sort of been longish on metals mainly and also the Aussie as well. So if you go back on Wednesday, yeah, I think it was Wednesday and that. I think we are about over here. I was saying, look, come down 60s is where we're going to see some support come in, and pretty much bang, spot on down here. So that was pretty much an absolute nail of an entry through this period here. We did have a bit of sort of fluffing around in that, but you can see as it looks better on the 4 hour, but doesn't tell the full story of it all. So really, if you look on the 1 hour, you can see how much it was just this sort of like breakout, retest, double retest, like swept out the lows, swept out the lows, swept out the lows, came through here. And as I was saying yesterday in the vid, 85 was our big breakout level. And, we got the nice bounce up here. We tested it a couple of times, obviously multiple rejections, pushed it back down to sweep out the lows, as I said a second ago. And then we sort of grinded back up again. And obviously that news that dropped last night with, I think it was jobless claims in the US really sort of hammered things along there. So it was interesting to see this sort of move because I was watching like a lot of what I do is trade correlations. So, not just looking at the Aussie chart because if you just look at the Aussie chart, well, you're in a little down. Like, yes, we're in a pullback of uptrend. But, if you're short-term trading is, which is what I'm particularly doing, you sort of like you could be sort of sucked into this. Well, we've made a lower low, stopped at a lower low, stopped at like you know what I mean. It just seemed a very sort of choppy sort of move through here. But at the same time, I'm looking at sort of metals. I'm looking at DXY. Even though DXY, I mean, Aussie isn't obviously part of DXY, but it is sort of I use it as a barometer for sort of like broad market, sort of like I'm trying to think of the, I was up late. A broad market sort of take on what they want to do with the USD at that time. So, although Aussie's not part of it, you get a bit of a proxy flow on from sort of what the rest of the market's doing with the US dollar. And when you see little disparities in that, that's when you can sort of start to go, okay, hold on, wait, maybe there's an opportunity here. Because we're sort of seeing that although DXY at the same time was pushing right up, Aussie is a risk asset in that, and USD kind of pretty much is a risk asset as well. It's just it plays the other side of it all. It's a risk off sort of asset. And then as all through sort of yesterday, mainly Asia and sort of definitely through Europe, DXY was pushing right up. So if we put these side by side, you can see here. So if we put DXY on here, put this onto the 1 hour as well. You can see like these little the dotted lines will sort of line up and show the same time as it was yesterday. So as you're seeing sort of like, DXY sort of really sort of pushing to the upside here, you should have expected to see Aussie breaking to its lows and sort of coming down here. But it wasn't. It wasn't like sort of breaking new highs. It was hitting these resistances. But as you can see here, sort of like coming down the bottom here, DXY still pushing up through this period here, which as you can see corresponds on the left chart there. Aussie is kind of ignoring that a little bit. And Aussie should, or typically would be sort of down here on USD strength. It sort of seems to cop it even worse than the other pairs. So that's something that I sort of take notice of. And then when you flick across, and just I'll get back to the Aussie in a moment, but particularly have a look at silver. So silver just running through out yesterday, sort of like as you can see, like this whole sort of like consolidation period, and then sort of subsequent breakup higher of DXY. Well, you look at what silver's doing at the same time. At best, this little period here on the left chart here, you can see a consolidation of sort of not this one. You can see this consolidation of breakout box. This little consolidation period here. DXY is running to the top side here. This isn't. It's generally like metals have got a pretty good sort of inverse relationship with DXY as well, and it should have been sort of pushing back down to the bottom side, but it wasn't. So it means that people are buying this despite what's happening with DXY, and then obviously you can see that when they eventually sold the US dollar, that's when it just went rocket and just went up to the top side because they were already buying it. Then you've got the people selling this market also buying this. So you've got two lots of people buying it and it's pushed right up to the top side there. So these are the things that I sort of look for, the little disparities between what normal price action should be happening. We are seeing as well, look at this, with this perfect move here, with the measured move coming right out to the top side of that sort of higher time frame resistance, but you're also getting that measured move with silver coming out the top side here as well. So been really interesting, been very strong sort of run with it all. So I'll get back to what we're talking about here. So back onto Aussie. So we're seeing it sort of sell down a little bit just off the open here, but again, you got to look left in that, and we can see sellers have been here previously. So what's the likelihood that they're going to be here again? This is what I say every time in that. You can't sort of just, I mean, look, you can blow through levels, but generally you're going to see if one portion of the market, for whatever reason, have decided to sell it from a certain point or buy it from a certain point, that they're going to react and do the same again the next time. Now, this isn't to say that this is a turnaround position, but this is more to sort of say that, look, you got to validate the people that sort of like, go, oh, look, I was selling it from 66.20, went all the way down here. Oh, look, I've got another chance to sell some more from 66.20. Or you got people sort of taking profits, whatever portion of the market, they're going to push it down a little bit. Now, what you want to do is sort of see where this part comes down to. And, it could just do a complete sort of like flick and move straight back up through it all. If the trend is strong enough, which I think we've got means to sort of test the top side here for a major breakout. But certainly you want to sort of see that this pullback comes here, maybe consolidates a little bit, and then it has another run up to test this again, and then potentially break out. And then you can look for your back test, and then you sort of move forward there. But first of all, sort of you got to obviously let this run down here, let it sort of consolidate. It's not necessarily going to come here to 66.08. That's just where I've marked out here. There's a good chance that, we could sort of come down 66. It's a round number. We can see that, there were sellers here. It did sort of stuff around here a little bit last night, sort of like just after that news, obviously push back down here a little bit before sort of going on for the second leg. But it'll come back down here. It will have another thing. And this move here, this particular section here, is where you'll determine the strength of this whole move here. So this will come back up. It'll either come up here. It'll either do one of two things, basically. It'll either come up, well, one of three, technically, but realistically, one or two. You got one move which will do this, which will push through. This will give you one high here, this high here. So that's a higher high. Or it'll come down here. It'll push back up, but it won't get up here. It'll only come to say here, push down like this, whatever. Well, this could be whatever. This part of the move is not relevant. But it would push back up here, and this would give you a lower high than this one, which means that this push through here is probably weakening, and there's more of a chance of a roll back down over this side here. So you got to let this leg play out. We wait for it to base or find a good entry around here. There's a bit of a congestion, so I'm looking around sort of, probably a little bit further down. We got a wick earlier, probably around 66.10. I think sort of might sort of offer a bit of an entry, and then sort of we'll see for how we go for the run. But certainly, once we sort of take out these highs, we'll put a little alert on this one here. Once we go above 23, obviously a close above this better. It's not just a tip above, because then it can obviously sell back down. A close above there is a good chance that then we sort of look to where have the sellers been again on top of that. And now we're moving up into major breakout territory. Like this will be the higher time frame. This stuff will show, like these kind of moves won't necessarily always show up on the lower time frames. This one did. If you look on the 4 hour, as you can see, there was a big 4 hour thing here before it went smack all the way down here. So at the moment, this is what I'm talking about. So this is kind of exactly what I was saying before. You got your move down, you got your move up. Now, if this whole move through here doesn't come up and test this or break through this, then this is the lower high of what I was talking about 2 seconds ago. So, this move isn't necessarily over. We see that this one's got a little bit of room to move on the RSI. So there's a good chance we come down here. As I said, 66.10 fills that 4 hour body. I would say a little bit of a push up from there. And then we sort of see how we go once it sort of comes back up and tests the 66.20 kind of level. But certainly, if we can flip this hour, and then sort of get out the top side here, well, I think sort of it's reasonable expectation. First thing is to fill the body over here at 66.40. But really, this is your major breakout. If you get above here, well, you can see just where it has been previously. And we can see sellers were at this level here. And this is what I'm talking about. You just drag it left. Have a look how many times this vague area. Look, I mean, this is like 5 points difference with it all. But you know that sellers have been loving to sort of sell it at this level here. Look at the drop off after this one as it came up here. Again, sold it down. Again, sold it down. Every time you come up and attack it again, though, you know, they're running out of supply. I mean, the people that want to sort of try and sort of sell it from these points here, whether they're long and they're closing long positions and that, or if they're sort of like, you know, trying to add on shorts to add some weight to it all, they'll run out of supply eventually. And as you sort of come up here, you've tapped it, they've used some supply. You've tapped it, came down here, they've used some supply. There's going to be a lot of stops up here, which is going to help us if we do get up above it. That's where your stops are going to be, a little stop loss here. Because everybody that's been short through this whole period, if they shorted at this point here back in March, you know, they've been in profit, they come back up, you know, maybe they've taken, but who knows what they've actually done with their trade. But the idea is that if you break through this area here, there's going to be a lot of stops around this area here. Maybe above this wick over here, who knows. But, you know, the idea is that basically, you know, once it confirms a higher high, people have their stops there, that'll add to it, and this will give a bit more fuel to sort of push up to the top side. But certainly Aussie sort of fine back. It came out of this wedge beautifully. Have a look at how, and this is that double top measured move down to the 60 that I was talking about, and that's why we had the entries down there as well, just another sort of confirmation. But if we look at this in terms of a wedge, so this is the measured move. Then you take this out from breakout point. So yeah, this could be from back test point or breakout point being here, back test point being here. It's giving you pretty much in this area. Look, you may have a little bit higher with this move, depending where you like to sort of put your measured move from the actual breakout point or from the low, which is the back test, which would be obviously this little bottom wick behind here. That gives you another reason to come back up to here, and you're probably seeing another little bit of a sell-off here. But, you know, it's early Asia. You had a big move on DXY overnight, so, you know, a little bit of a cooling off. That's fine. You know, see what they do with it all. RSI's got a little room to move here. If we jump back onto the 1 hour quickly, you can see it's pretty overbought and it's starting to cool down a little bit here as well. So I would say down here, let it chill a little bit. Watch for the next move coming up towards this overnight highs resistance area, and see if it's either going to come down like this or we're going to get a move up through here. That's what we're looking for. Waiting for that alarm to go off to really sort of confirm the move. Move on to gold. Gold, what a ripper, tipping into this high thing. And this just goes to show the same stuff over and over again. Up over here, we know sellers have been here. We know sellers have been here. And where are they again? Bang, they're up here. Clip just into that price target overnight. And this is what I was saying on those sort of videos the last couple of days, if you've been watching. You know, this is a descending triangle, technically. You had a sort of positive move into it. But as I said, I've been playing this long side of gold. I closed a lot of my gold. Actually, I closed all my gold. What am I talking about? I closed all my gold and all my silver overnight. So I really, yeah, sort of closed out pretty hard on that stuff. I didn't get the very top with it all. Like I jumped a little bit early, but I think sort of high 30s or so I think I got, and I was happy with that. So basically, it was the same as this kind of move here. We can see that the buyers are sort of sitting flat. Buyers are sitting flat here. Sellers are pushing you down, pushing you down. A descending triangle typically sort of is more of a sort of like downward sort of moving play, but you got to look at sort of the direction that it came into the consolidation. This one is inverse of it all because it came in negatively, so it would have favored a continuation down to the bottom side here, but obviously we popped out the top, bang along here, and popped out the top again. Now, I said sort of through the week, oh, give me up into the 50s and I'm going to be shorting this, hence these big arrows here. So, you know, this was my price target to get long. I still do think we have this move to play out. I think this would be a very good move, but for me at the moment, after last night, I have to admit I'm sort of a little bit cautious to stand in front of this thing. So I'm going to hold off on the shorts for the moment, despite that being the plan. I did say once it gets to 50, so what are we at now? 48 or something, I think, 48, 49. thereabouts, I said, look, okay, yeah, we're going to short from here. What I think I might sort of look to do is if we come into contact with this line here, so I'll put a little alert on this one. So this is high time frame falling resistance. You know, it's on the 1 hour. You know, it's still the high. It's the main sort of falling resistance there. I think once we get into contact with this, then I might look for some shorts. I might be able to squeeze out another $10 or so. I think it just gives a little bit of extra sort of leeway because it's just, yeah, it came up very strong last night. Look, I don't think this is, as I said, with all these things, I don't think this goes through straight away. I think we get potentially a little bit of a pullback here and then maybe a push through. But at the same time, I think there's a lot of momentum coming through here. Plus, there's going to be a lot of stops up around this area over here. And so, as I said, if we put our, the idea would be that your stops will be here. So, you know, there's going to be some fuel to the fire if you do get up here. And I think you could get a little bit of a push and overshoot up over here. So I think there's probably some potential upside here. I'm not game to sort of jump back into it at the moment. I've had a pretty good week. I've actually had a very good couple of weeks. So I don't want to push the envelope here. But certainly something to watch. And I'll have a bit of a closer look in a bit as to what we sort of do. But as I say, maybe wait till you get up a little bit higher, see what it does up around this zone. It does look, obviously, we know the sellers are here, we know the sellers are here. They're obviously holding it at this point. So, you know, maybe sort of if we can consolidate here for a couple of candles, and then we sort of make a decent little low. So say, you know, I would say at the moment, given the strength of this momentum, I don't want to do it just off one candle. I mean, look at this, just bang, bang, bang. There's a good chance that this just chills for a bit and then takes a breather and then goes bang. I mean, Asia's never great um, for gold movements anyway. So you got to wait to see what the volume happens in sort of Europe and US sessions. But if we can sort of consolidate for maybe 2 or 3 candles and we put in like a nice little ledge, then we break that ledge, then I'll sort of probably look to short it with some stops above whatever the high would be. So the entry would be sort of like from here. Oop, it doesn't really matter. Look, you can see what it is. The entry would be below whatever the ledge would be. Stops would be above the highs. But for now, I'm just going to hold off on this. It's been a great trade coming through the top side here. It was really this again. It was one of these things like gold wasn't doing much. It was just consolidating very hard, but USD was running and it wasn't breaking down. So again, this is the thing where it's a difference of the normal sort of price action, which has created that opportunity. DXY was in a little bit of a push up here. A very interesting spot that it came, or not so super interesting, but it's just yet another one. If we see this fall from the top over here, come down to the bottom, right back up, it is clipped the 61% like to the cent. And look, you can see this is the same level where we knew that there were some sellers previously. You know, you can see it on the chart that sold down here. Up here, it didn't even have a chance. It just went bang down the bottom here. So we're seeing a little bit of a sort of you know, I guess this would be your sort of profit taking and that sort of throughout sort of like early Asia here. We drag this on across. We've got a bit of a sort of range area, which could be sort of under here. There's no bottom wick on this thing here, so I wouldn't be surprised if we see a little bit of a reversal push down here. This is just what I think, a little bit of early morning, early Asia profit taking. You know, hit some stops and that if people are sort of trailing their stops too close. But I'd expect this potentially just come down. You have seen it go grind, 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 but generally after such a big move, you got to wonder why are they just going to go bang and buy it straight up back like this without some sort of catalyst? Like nothing has changed. Like whatever the landscape, uh, like you know, the landscape sort of dictated last night, like hence the data, the news that came out. This is what caused everybody, well, the people that have got the serious money, the banks, whatever, to shift their outlook, dump the US dollar. Why are they necessarily just going to buy it back up at this point? Off nothing. Nothing's changed. Whatever scenario was that made them sort of sell it, that's still in effect. It's just okay, yes, they've got a cheaper price now, but again, if this goes down here, well, they could technically even have a cheaper price next week. So this also sort of kind of lines up with a little bit of an under test, so back test of the underside of that sort of major main sort of rising support that it had. So it's coming up through here. Confirmation of a lot further down. Obviously, we've got to take out all these lows over here. 104, still my price target. Obviously, this week has been a little bit of a grind up to try and sort of do these things, but we are sort of seeing, a little bit of these, like, this is just grind. There's a couple of big moves, but that sell down is something you got to take note of, and particularly if it takes out the lows here, well, this is where we're sort of looking for a real sort of major break down under 104.80. At the moment, we're at 105.26, so little ways to move down the bottom there. We are seeing Aussie just having a little bounce now from 66.10 as well, so as I sort of mentioned a few moments ago. So it's, yeah, DXY certainly under pressure there. It's got a bit to move in its, this is on the 4 hour. It's got a bit to move with its RSI still coming down here. I'd expect at best probably, sideways grind through here, but most likely I think eventually it'll sort of see another leg down towards this 104.8 in European sessions. These kind of things are going to give Aussie a reason to sort of break or try for that major breakout to sort of push above sort of 66.40. We are getting into very high time, just back onto the Aussie very quickly, very high time frame resistance here. Like this is a yearly long range that we've been in through here. So where we are here, let's put on the daily. Maybe the other one shows it a little bit better. Yeah. So as you can see here, this is the resistance area that basically we've been respecting. And, you can see it was a little launch off pad to sort of try and sort of keep the things afloat when it was coming down off 68 at the very start of the year. But as you can see, they've sold it down a number of times here. If you break through here, if we take out these wicks over here, so 66.60 area, which is what I've been saying all week, we're going to see some strong moves. I mean, that's going to go up 67.30 into this little consolidation area here, and I imagine they're going to try and sell it down again, as they did previously, here and here and here. They're going to be selling it down here and here and here. You know what I mean? It's not to sort of say that things don't break, but I would certainly say if this alert gets triggered, then that's going to be the one that's going to say, okay, we're going above 67. But, we've got to get above these 66.40s first, so there's still a little way to go with it. Cool, seeing DXY, that's pretty much it done from there. Okay, and we flip on copper. Copper, as I said yesterday, just really in that sort of triangle. As you can see, it's still just consolidating, holding this sort of major support. It has put in technically higher, 2-3 higher highs, but you're also putting in lower highs. So it's going to this little triangle consolidation period here. I think these are going to be your breakout areas. As I said, I wouldn't, technically you could call this one here your, you could call this your swing high, but the distance between here and here just isn't really much. So it's not really sort of go, okay, hey, we've taken out this swing high, let's jump pile on, because you've got, your major highs just 2 seconds later. So really, if you wanted just to get this, you could get an early entry as a break of this falling resistance, maybe with a back test, and then sort of look for sort of retest here to sort of get that major breakout here. Again, you can see this is where I reckon the stops are going to be sitting, because people love fading these things, man. Like, look at how strong this move is going up over here. How many times did people think they caught the top here and they got blown out? They thought they caught the top here, got blown out. I mean, this is a good sign of it here. This is where the stops would have been blown out, comes back, retests. So, you know what I mean? There's no point trying to fight the market when it's trending so hard. So, yeah, for now, I think sort of, look, it's obviously still just gone into a bit of a wait and see mode, because it's just for the first time in the last couple of months, it's actually moving sideways. We are getting lower highs. You can see here continuously hitting higher highs through here. So, this is just a consolidation period here. Once we get sort of either sort of below, what's this, 4.49 or above 469, we're going to see the next leg. Whether that comes back down, bottom side here, you're probably pretty much, There we go. What's the thing going? If we do break this level here, you've got sort of like main trend and also supports back over here, which could give you a little bit of a push to come back up over here. Top side wise, if we do see it move the other way, you got to see what happens at this major high here. You don't really need a little line to sort of see how that's going to play out. But certainly, I think sort of, you've got so many layers of support through here. It's going to be a long time till this is a proper short from the highs. And finally, finish off with China. China, we did get that breakdown, but again, look, you can see how these areas, supports of resistance, resistance of supports. So we can see that this is an area we marked out. We can see they tried to hold it on the way back up. It broke through, and here we are trying to hold it again from the other side. Yesterday on the 1 hour, wow, there's a big early open there for it all. So we'll have to sort of see how this plays out. But as I was saying yesterday, the fact that it gave up this little short-term trend, this is just looking on a shorter time frame. This is on the 1 hour. It gave up the shorter time frame. For me, that put it on notice. Yes, we did get another blowout to the top side here, but obviously that was rejected for a little double top, and we're seeing the move back down now. So, I mean, this is only a big, don't really sort of trade sort of one on such a small time frame, because the moves are generally just so small. It's not much worth it. But, I mean, if you look at that for a double top, through this area to here, this area here, that being the baseline there, we're seeing the breakdown here, and this is actually a very big candle to open up this morning, so I'll have to have a look. Something like that could probably most likely be news driven. I don't think we have anything out this morning. It's been a pretty quiet week in terms of, and BOE yesterday, absolute fluff, did nothing, as it typically sort of tends to do, just do nothing. Bit of JPY news, nothing major. So, have to sort of see this as a reason to this. But we're seeing a little bit of a back test. You can see it's obviously trying to sell down a little bit in this area where we sort of saw it support, and retest here. And if this comes down and takes out the lows here, then this is obviously just confirming as a back test. And then we sort of start to move back down and confirms this move back lower. But, we had this little double top. Measure moves played out through here. It is still grinding. It is still sort of holding this back test of this area. But as I said, if it can't hold it, then we're looking back down to previous areas where we'd see buyers. So you probably get a little bit of sort of 720. It's a big round number. It was a very significant number going back sort of before they sort of blew it off to the top side as well. So we'll have to sort of see how this one plays out. But yeah, as you can see, look, even as we're talking, we're seeing this sort of sell down here. And this is a perfect example because it's in real time of it. Support, 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 and here they go with the sellers. They're pushing it back down. It doesn't mean that this line's going to hold forever, but it means you're just putting you're trying to stack the percentage in the favors in your the chances in your favor. And you watch what happens with it, and if it holds a couple of times, well, then it confirms. So we take out the lows here, then we look down below over here. All right, that's it from me.